What does a world of your doppelgangers look like?
World of my doppelgangers. Amazing events, fast cars, lots of laughter, and amazing memories.
I was going to say maybe some pets as well, but it's full of your doppelgangers, so I'd be calling you like so never mind.
Are you calling me an animal? Some people have.
Great start.
But I am known as the Dragon Lady, so yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, actually, you were saying like this is your year, but actually this is the year of the dragon.
Exactly.
So it kind of lines up.
Yeah, everything aligned. It's my year of the dragon. So the Dragon Lady is on fire, shall we say, this year.
The stars are aligned. Welcome to the Small Talk podcast, where we talk to small business owners about their big aspirations, their big dreams on big subject matters. Fiona, look, thanks for coming on the show. It's talking to small business owners, but I feel that's a bit of a... It's unfair to call you a small business owner, because although you are a small business owner, you're a multi-small business owner. Mm-hmm. So there should be some way that stacks up. So it's like a big business owner.
Crazy business owner. There you go.
Guys, Fiona runs 4 businesses: My PA, Siren Events, Shooting Cars, and Dragon Boating. What's the name for the dragon boat?
Siren Dragon
Boating. Amazing. Like, how do you even find the time to focus on all 4 of those projects?
Well, it's honestly, I'm organised. It's all about loving what you do, scheduling, and being organised. I delegate. Mm-hmm. I have a great team for every business, and that's I think my biggest secret to success is surround yourself by people that are better than you at things that you don't enjoy doing. Yeah. So I love being the ideas person. I love looking at how we can always strive to do better, etc. So then the implementation, I surround myself with people that can then actually implement to a high standard. So it's and I love all the product, and all of them came about by identifying a need, and a business was born.
So if we look at those implementers, those people in your team, those fantastic team members, they all have different skill sets across the different businesses that you have, but there must be some characteristics they share. What would they be? What are they?
That's simple. It's passion, attention to detail, or strive to excellence. That's the biggest thing for me. And I trust them. Mm-hmm. You know, when I do recruitment for a team member or for a partner, business partner, whoever it is, I know it sounds crazy. I go on the vibe, the feeling. I can walk into a room, have a 10-minute conversation, and I know whether I want to spend time with this person. Yeah. And then I can go through their qualifications. And I'm a great believer in you can teach people skills, but you can't teach someone passion. No. You can't teach someone this... I call it sort of striving for excellence, attention to detail, want to do, actually that feeling to want to do good. And you have to have trust with your team members. You're trusting them with your business. So if you don't have that, and that's my values for all my businesses. And as you know me well, Sam, you know it actually spells PET. So PET, passion, excellence, and trust.
Oh, okay.
And I realised that about 3 years after
I'd
I'd
you
written
just
my
wanted
belly.
it to be pet, and then you figured out how you could get
there.
there.
There's a little animal next to it, but that's I really had that realisation. Yeah. So it's funny how everything ties in.
That's really nice. Look, when you go on Instagram and things, and you see these silly videos that try and represent business owners or super successful business people. They always talk about like the numbers, and it's like they're cold-blooded and stuff like that. But I really think, and I feel like you've just echoed it, it's like business owners and doing business, you need to have a really sort of personal side of you. You need to be able to pick up on someone's vibe, like are they passionate about the project or not? Like how are they feeling? Because so much of it comes down to that, like the numbers and being cold-blooded and making tough decisions. That's one side of things, but the other side is being able to speak to people and level with them and reason with them and get them motivated and get them inspired by projects and stuff. So
Oh no, definitely. I mean, I always say, as a business owner, you're going to have great successes, you're going to have great failures, and there's going to be good times and tough times. So there has to be that personal element, that personality to it. You have to be able to laugh at yourself, laugh with your colleagues, laugh with your clients, cry, be honest, have frank conversations. And it goes back to sort of all the basic marketing training, etc. People don't buy a product or a service. They buy into what that, product or brand represents. So with me as a business owner, most of my clients don't buy into the company. They buy into Fiona. What I'm going to bring. When I look at, and I've asked clients this, why do you use, for example, with our events business, why do you use Siren Events instead of another agency? Because I'm interested. I want to know. Because we're providing a service. It's not like I'm providing a laptop or a product that has different operating benefits. And they're like, Fiona, it's always across your team. It's your enthusiasm for the project. You will sit down and be frank with us and help us manage our expectations when we come to you and say we want to do this event, and you let us talk big, and then we give you the budget, and then you manage our expectations, but in a way that you will still deliver by working with us, rather than just saying, well, this is how much it costs. And so
much relies on that, what people think about you, like what they say behind your back, your personal brand. Whether you know it or not, I think, Fiona, you have a really good personal brand.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I don't, if whether you know it or not, regardless of that, I'm going to still ask you this question. What do you think are the fundamentals that go into having a good personal brand?
That's a tough one. Personal, I suppose it's consistency. I'm very much, I know that some people will find me very direct and abrupt, and I've been told that. Others, they'll say to me, oh, you've always got high energy, you're always smiling, you're very calm. But I'm not putting that on. And I think you have to be at peace with your personality and yourself. We're all different, and we all have different styles. And I'm not saying that you don't adapt to situations, scenarios, but you can see me in my personal life, you can see me in my business life, and I'm not two different people. I am me. Everybody, it's because I have to be able to that. I can't switch between business Fiona, social Fiona, personal Fiona. They've got enough going on. So I think it's having that belief in yourself, believe that you're okay, having the emotional intelligence to know when you have to maybe adjust your style. There are some people that will have a conversation. I can be very friendly, like now, relaxed, and have a very honest conversation. There are other people where maybe I have to be a little bit more reserved and, let's say, address challenging topics in a different way. And
be a bit more subtle, maybe.
Subtle, which is hard for me. Nobody will ever, very rarely subtle. But it is understanding, but it's also having the awareness of your personal brand. So I'm certainly not perfect. I make mistakes. I lose my temper. Sometimes I will get very snappy but it's, it's understanding that, trying to manage it to the best of your ability, and not being scared to go out to the world and say, this is me. If the world doesn't know about you, nobody's going to come knocking on your door. So,
absolutely. No, I'm a firm believer, particularly with that period in a small business where it's like between one solopreneur to 5 employees. A lot of the driving force of new interest and new opportunities is the business owner, like whether they go networking and things like that. It's like the question becomes what surrounds their current activities in terms of like, you know, what do they look like online? What are they saying? What are they saying in this room? What are they saying in that room? For example, if you were speaking to an opportunity or a lead or something in a few weeks' time, and then this episode comes out, it's like, is Fiona consistent? Like, I think so much of the personal brand is so important in those early days. And then once the business is set up and kind of like turning over itself, then it doesn't matter so much. But in these early days, it's just so important how much relies on the business owner themselves. And I feel like that's not actually very well known when people start their business. They're like, oh yeah, I can make amazing pieces of art. But it's like, okay, but are you, the product, ready to be in the limelight as well? Because you're going to have to be.
Absolutely. You've got to step up. I mean, when I first started my journey, it was a crazy time going on in my life. I was going through a divorce. I suddenly had 8 animals. I was living in LA in a big house, and suddenly I was like, no income. I was like,
I'm surprised you didn't become a farmer or something.
I was like, what am I doing? Like, seriously, what? And I stepped out of a salaried job to set up. I mean, everybody was. And then the financial recession hit. I mean, like, seriously, anything that could have been thrown at me.
Yeah.
But all that did was every negative thing that was happening to me drove me forward. And I made the decision to, and this is just me, I'm a great believer in, you know, when you're having a challenging life, you can crawl into bed, pull the duvet over your head and cry about it. Nothing's going to change. Yeah. Or you can throw the duvet back and say, right, okay, what's the worst that can happen? What are my options? Yeah. I'm very much for looking for solutions. And if you go out there with a smile on your face, people will believe in you. They'll want to buy into you. Because as much as people care, they don't want to know about the rubbish that's going on in your life. So that was my decision is, you know what? I'm going to go out to the world. I'm going to put a smile on my face, whatever's going on, and be positive, because positive things happen to positive people. That's just a reality. Yeah. You know, if I go out, if I sit and cry to my client about challenges, they got their own. They just want me to solve their challenge. That's all they want me to do.
I don't want weepy Fiona on my project anymore. Every time I see her, she's crying at me.
They just want to know everything. Life is great. And that is, I think, the way I put myself out to the world.
So in that tough time at the very start, like, what did you do to get going? And what was the first business, actually? And how did you get started?
Yeah, so the first business was the events business, Siren Events. And it came about where 2 friends that I had worked with sort of as clients in previous roles had a PR company, and they were looking at the time. Events was going crazy, but it was just before, you know, it was just as the property boom started, and they were looking to open an events division. And they said, Fiona, would you be interested to come in and work for us? And I thought about it, and I said, actually, you know, no, I don't want to work for you, but how about I come on board and set up Siren Events division, and I run it as a separate business, but we share trade license, we share an office. So, and that was sort of how, and it was born, it all came about over a cup of coffee in Costa in Madinat. I'll always at that, like literally 45 minutes later, it was the plan. And I ran with it. I resigned. I was setting it all up. Then me and my husband broke up. Like, it all was going on at the same time.
Was it, when you look back at that, like, do you have fond memories, or is it a mixed bag?
To be honest, if the negative stuff hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been hungry enough. That's the best way I can put it.
Interesting.
Is I would have had my bills being paid. My husband was in a very lucrative job at the time, so I could have played at running an events company. But when you're in a situation and your back's to the wall, and it is, I am the only person that has got to pay. I had to pay bills. I had to feed the animal, you know, like the reality was. And I went out to my network and said, this is what I'm doing. And they were so receptive. I got some great work, worked on, and it was fun because I didn't go into the real estate. Everybody was going after real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a great project with the Ministry of Education. I got a great project with a networking organization. So and all of a sudden through my network, so I then got, and again through my network, I got referrals. And I got my first client, which was EMC, which then got sold out to Dell. So we then transitioned into work with Dell Technologies, and we had a very long working relationship together over 10 years. So it's amazing how, because I was hungry and I had to succeed, there was no option to fail.
Yeah.
And I went out to my network.
What keeps you hungry? Because this is your fourth business, and it's clear you're not in the same position you were back then. Why are you hungry now? Are you still hungry now?
Yes.
Do you want to get lunch after this?
Yeah, let's do it.
No, are you?
Yeah, I mean,
are you hungry for more business?
I thrive on. I love what I do with every business. Siren Events was my original baby, and my heart and passion. I love producing events, and when I set up Siren Events, I made the decision I don't want to grow it into a big multi-office event company. I want to keep it as a small boutique working on premier events, working with international brands, because I can still then be involved in the day-to-day, the production of the events. That's what I want. I don't want to be locked in an office signing papers and coming up with business plans.
For events you don't really care to even attend.
So,
what's the fun? Yeah,
it's I want, I want to be involved with the production of the events. The other Siren Dragon Boat, which was what came along next, and I have a partner with Siren Dragon Boat, again came about through opportunity. I was looking for dragon boating for a corporate event that I was looking to put together with Shangri-La Abu Dhabi. And then I saw potential in it, and immediately it got, it was like the excitement. I can see where this is going.
Yeah.
And years later, I've learned that I see opportunities, and then that makes me hungry. And I don't believe in failure. That's my. So it's I want to make these businesses work.
Yeah.
So as we grew, again, then I wanted to outsource admin, but I didn't want to outsource it to somebody in India or the Philippines. There's a need for that, but I didn't want that. I wanted something that was in Dubai.
A bit more local.
And hence, that's how my PA came about. And then shooting cars was from a passion. I love cars. I'm a bit of a petrol head. I'm lucky enough to have friends who have all these beautiful vintage cars. And during COVID, the world tried to lock me in a room. They tried to stop me. And again, through conversations, I saw an opportunity with shooting cars where a lot of the production work was coming from India back into the UAE or into the UAE. And I was intrigued. I was like, how do people find the props that they need, the cars, the motorbikes, etc., for commercials, etc.?
Yeah.
And it's sort of this, it goes round and round, and someone knows someone, and someone. So I was like, wouldn't it be great if we had a website where people could register their cars, and then agencies can book the cars. They have a catalogue, they can book it through us. So Shooting Cars was born. And
what's next?
What's next? Yeah. So next, my dream is to have an animal sanctuary.
Oh, that's nice.
It's going to be called Forever.
Okay.
Forever Friends. And I really want it to be where senior cats, dogs, animals can come and live out their final years. So that's my plan, preferably on a vineyard or next to a vineyard, so that the vineyard can
for unrelated reasons.
Unrelated.
Support your personal interest.
My personal interest, but also can support the sanctuary, so that everybody who comes for wine tasting or tour, actually a percentage of it goes into sanctuary, but
Clever.
Also it's a great way to get people like young vet interns, people that just love working with animals, to come and spend summers where they can sort of live in sort of little cottages on the vineyard and look after the animals. So it's all planned
Nice.
out.
Yeah.
So anybody out there wants to invest in that, call me.
I don't know, but I want to come for a visit. I want to come for wine tasting while a cat sits on my lap or something.
Exactly.
Sounds nice.
You know.
Yeah. So Fiona, like a massive challenge for small businesses is being profitable, like ASAP. With startups, it's very clear that they have a runway. They're funded, they're backed. You know, they don't necessarily need to have profit because that's in the roadmap for like months and months or maybe years and years. Small businesses, particularly when it's very organically grown, as you know, we need to make some money because we're not salaried anymore.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point as fast as possible? Because I feel like you've done it now 4 times.
As fast as possible. You have to put a salary on the books from day one.
Okay.
And I think that's the biggest challenge for small businesses. As small business owners, we don't. How can you say your business is profitable if you're not at least putting on your books? So even though you're showing a loss, you have to put a value on you as a business owner. If you were a CEO or a managing director or partner of another company, you'd be being paid a salary, and it needs to be market value. Now, you're not going to achieve that straight away, but it gives you something to strive to. So at least if on paper you're seeing, okay, if I'm paying myself market value salary of X, and it's like, oh my God, but you know, I'm now running at a negative loss of that. But it gives you something to strive to. And it also means you're looking at your pricing. Because we're so, you know, you set up a business and you're putting all your energy, all your time. But if you're not putting a value to that time, how do you know where you need to get to make a profit?
Yeah.
And I know because I made this mistake with Siren Events. You know, I didn't put a salary on the books for the first 18 months, 2 years. So I thought I was doing okay, but then the reality was, no, you're not. You need to be making this much revenue to be profitable, because it's sort of like, otherwise you're not having a clear, and I think clarity to hit a profit is what's needed. You know, as I said earlier, look at the worst case. Worst case is I should be paying myself this much amount, so therefore I've got a loss of this.
Bare minimum. Yeah.
So at least if you then have something to work towards, that, okay, if I'm paying myself salary plus the overheads, this is what I need to, because otherwise you're fooling yourself. If you're paying yourself 1,000 dirhams here and 5,000 dirhams here, there's no, so you're never going to hit that profit margin.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like it removes you from feeling too personal about the business's expense. Because I made this mistake immediately. So I came from uni and I started my business, and I had a business account before I even had a personal account, because I still had my UK account. Yeah. But everything I did in Dubai went through the business account. No, FTA, don't come after me, because I was very young. Leave me alone.
Forgive him.
But so I didn't have a salary. I didn't even know how much I was spending on myself personally. Literally everything I was spending on came through the business account. I'm like, it's fine. You know, I'll push that to side and deal with it later. It was only like a few years ago where I actually said, you know what, I need to take a salary. Like, I need a personal account. I need to separate this. And to be fair, like, as well, a lot of small business owners I work with, some of them feel very personal about their expenses, because I kind of see myself in there, and I feel like, okay, you actually haven't separated yourself from the business in terms of... And
you need to. I mean, I've always had a personal account and a business account. Again, it's for clarity.
For your own sake, for your own well-being.
But
like,
it's clarity, it's understanding, and trust me, it's not all roses. I'm constantly, I wish I could say I'm on like the easy ride. Everything's up and down. Cash flow is my nightmare for the rest of my life. You know, honestly, you're always managing cash flow. But if you, like I said, if you're not aware of if you're not aware of the reality, you're fooling yourself. And you need to understand, when it comes to expenses, okay, what is my personal... So like, even if you don't physically pay yourself a salary, put it on the books. Yep. And when I can't stress enough, it's about the value. When you're working with clients, and you are agreeing, like maybe your day rate is, I don't know, $3,000 a day, for example, but you agree to do it with them. You want that client, you want to work with them. You say, okay, I'll do it for $2,000. Invoice them at $3,000, put the discount on, because you've got to keep reinforcing to your clients, but also to yourself, what your true value is.
Yeah.
And it's so easy here. I mean, it's more difficult now because now we have VAT, we've got corporate tax, so bookkeeping is a lot more important than it was, for example, 15 years ago.
Yep.
When I first started out on this journey. 18 years, when I was a baby. But now it is a lot more important.
Yeah.
And yeah, you've got to keep that. Yes, we all need a profit, but we need to make sure it's a true profit.
Yeah. You talked about defining your own value in terms of financially, but in terms of like morally and self-esteem, how it's hard. I feel like it's hard. It's hard sometimes for me to define my self-value, because when you're in school, you have your peers, you've got your grades, you can see how you're doing. You can see who else is in detention with you. Like, okay, these are the guys I'm with.
We're both laughing at each other because we're both detention kids.
In work, you can see your peers, you can see around you, you can see how you get talked to in meetings, all that lovely corporate stuff. When you're a business owner, you can just see people on Instagram, and it's always the highlights, and it's always what's going on great in their life. And like, that's, I feel like, where you can compare yourself to, and it's quite hard. It's quite hard to know where you are. How have you overcome that or challenge that challenge?
I 100% agree with you, and everybody should stop looking at Instagram.
Yeah.
Not stop looking at Instagram, but believing that everything that's on Instagram is true.
Don't say that, because I'll lose clients. For
yeah,
you know what I do.
And you manage my one, but it's like everything that's out there. Any form of media is put out there to make people look good. I'm not going to post a picture of me looking horrific, especially not when it's going out to the public, to my clients, etc. So, but I agree with you. It's tough. When you're a small business owner, it's tough. You've got nobody congratulating you. You've got nobody giving you constructive feedback. So you can sometimes fool yourself into thinking you're doing better than you are. And it both can have a toll on you. And I'd love to say it gets easier. It doesn't. Last year, I was sharing with you, I drove myself medically, like health-wise, into the ground, and I needed to have a very sort of tough discussion with myself, which took me till the end of last year to do it, to say, okay, enough now. You've got to get balance back. You need to get some balance back, focus on health, social, private, family, and work, not put everything into one funnel. You need to balance this out. When I'm talking about solutions of how, it is good to maybe try and find a network or a person that can be your mentor or your confidant of someone that you can talk freely about the challenges, but also about the successes. It's funny, I was having this conversation last week with one of the networks I'm in, where I said, I very rarely stop to celebrate the successes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I analyze the failures. I was like, why? I will spend time and will congratulate my team and say, great job, well done, that's fabulous. But how often do I celebrate my successes? And so as business owners, I think we need to take time to self-review, like do our own little self-appraisal, do an appraisal. Where am I at? Am I still enjoying what I'm doing? Big question. If you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? And maybe you have to do it. Maybe there's commitments, but also, so, I mean, one is to have a confidant or a mentor or somebody that can help you celebrate and also self-reflect. Another one as well is make sure that you do a check-in. and maybe get other people to do a check-in. So that's where it comes back to appraisal of, how am I doing? Whether it's with, it's difficult when you work for yourself. A previous area manager, when I used to work in London, my first day, she made me photocopy my hand.
Okay.
I was like, huh?
What, like on a printer?
Like on a photocopy. Put my hand in, copy it. I was like, okay. She told me to stick it up on the wall.
Okay.
And she said, every time you have a good day or something, you do something good,
give yourself a high five.
Give yourself a tap on the back.
Oh,
and
okay.
I was like, you should lean against it. So whether it's a high five. So of course that's something that's very physical.
Yeah.
But sometimes maybe it's if I win this account, for example, I am going to do this. Whether it's like if you enjoy playing golf, if I win this account, I'm going to go and play at Emirates Golf Club a round of golf to celebrate the success. It can be, I'm going to have a cupcake, but it doesn't have to be big.
Yeah.
But if you stop celebrating successes, and that's what I did last year, I stopped celebrating the successes and just focused on what can I do better, focused on the challenges. And that's, that then bogs you down. But you have to do those self-check-ins, don't get me wrong, because if we start believing that, life is just one big success, you're going to be very disillusioned very quickly. So
I believe so. I mean, in the corporate world, you have promotions and all that good stuff. So
promotions, appraisals,
we should start
training.
giving ourselves promotions and
learning, self-learning. How many of us enjoy? I mean, I love audiobooks. And that's my self-learning. I've realised, I kept talking about going back and doing an MBA, and I've realised it's never going to happen.
But you can turn your car into a uni.
Yeah,
a uni on wheels.
Yeah, I could. But actually, the reality was I don't want to do assignments. Again, it's coming back to what you want out of life.
Yep.
And the reality was I want to continue to learn. I love business and, self-development books through audio. And that was my realization. That's the way I can learn, use time in the car. Yep. And then for my relaxation, I read physical fiction books. So I like to read fiction. Okay. And I like to listen to audiobooks that are about business. And there's so much out there. Yep. And podcasts, listen to podcasts.
Yes, keep listening, guys.
Keep listening.
This podcast is sponsored by QWERTY Digital, the best digital marketing launchpad for small businesses in Dubai. QWERTY offers the experience of an agency mixed in with the flexibility of an in-house hire, all at the affordability of a freelancer's rates. This is achieved because QWERTY offers flexible subscription time packages where a full stack digital marketing approach is provided in a set number of hours per month. So if you're looking to make a difference in your business and really start growing, reach out to QWERTY Digital.
I think people need to be aware of the mental strain as well as I don't think anybody appreciates it until they've done it.
Yeah.
And I think unfortunately a lot of resources tell you, it's great, and it's like, okay. I missed that journey.
Yeah, I missed I know what you mean.
And then it's the flip side, because I've had a couple of people in my sort of network that have gone back into corporate world and for whatever reasons, and they're really struggling.
Really?
I said, because it's a mindset. Corporate, there's hierarchy, there's, schedule, the expectation that you have to be in a place at this time till this time. Yeah. When you work for yourself.
You've got a boss again, all of that.
Yeah, so we all have bosses.
It's perspective then, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's what I think it's also what you want out of life. So, but it's quite interesting I've had like 2 people in my close network go back into full-time jobs.
After running a business?
After running a business.
Yeah. When they're struggling?
They have to do it. They need the salary basically. But they're really struggling with the sort of reporting to duty as
I
such.
think I would massively, because all the way through school, I just didn't really respond to authority. I don't want to... I was such a bad boy, because it wasn't really like that. It's just I wasn't really too engaged. I wasn't really too interested. But then when I started doing things for myself, particularly before and after uni, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm actually not a waster. I'm not lazy. I'm just driven by my own stuff, basically. Yeah.
If someone tells me you have to, That just is like a red flag. It's like,
Yep.
and even with my team, I try and do that. It's like, I don't see the reason that you have to be like, I don't get this 9 till 5 concept at all. Some people need it. Like one of my team, she needs that structure.
Yeah.
When she works from home, her productivity just crashes. So I understand that, and I give her that structure. But if someday she says to me, Fiona, can I come in at 10, or as long as the job gets done,
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Yeah. I'm always like that. Actually, I had a question from one of the team members this morning. Like, after we did our team meeting this morning, can I have an hour off? I'm not feeling well. I'm like, duh.
No,
always.
Yeah.
Yeah, always. But like, I think school gives you that regiment of like 9 to 5 because you have your hours in school, not quite 9 to 5, but you get accustomed to that.
It's like you will, and then you leave and you get a job, and you report to someone, and there's always someone that's you report to. But I like structure, but I don't like. But that's just the way I'm built. But yeah, when somebody starts telling me you must and you have to, you're not the boss of me.
Yeah,
I've actually heard myself
disobey
saying
even
that.
more.
You're not the boss of me. Like, why? If I can get it done in 10 minutes and go home, if it's done.
Do you listen to yourself when you say to yourself you have to?
Yeah, I'm getting better at managing because I'm over demanding of myself.
Yeah.
And now this year, actually 2024 is the year of me, because last year I got so sick, really sick, got hospitalized, all for killing myself for clients.
Oh my gosh.
And I was in hospital. Clients knew I was in hospital, and they were still messaging me about work, not saying, how are you?
That's awful.
And I was like, then I came out, got better, got sick again, and the same process. People were still expecting me to be performing at 100%. And I was like, I don't normally do New Year's resolutions, but I thought 2024 is going to be the year of me. A little bit step back, stop. Because I was putting pressure on myself.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to say, no, sorry, I'm not available. We can't do it in that timeline. And now I have every week something I do for me. Just whether it's go and have a massage, meet a friend for lunch, just non-work related.
That's nice.
And it's completely, it's made me re-engage again, because by the end of 2023, I was very distant. I was like, I can't be bothered with this. I think I'm going to go and retire on an island.
So you worked yourself into a hospital bed, but what were the red flags that you probably were ignoring leading up to that? Because it doesn't happen all at once. There must be points where it's like, oh, this is really getting to me.
Yeah, I just, obviously from a health point of view, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I was...
So it's that fundamental.
Like fundamentally, like energy levels and general sickness, and you're fighting through it, you fight through it, I don't get sick, take Panadol, you'll be fine. And then it starts manifesting into your mindset as well. Because I love what I do. And I lost that. I was just like, you've got to get it done. There's no joy in this. It's just I've got to do it. And then that's like, what is the point where it culminates in your body basically saying, enough.
And then like, if you're not enjoying it, what are you fighting through this for?
Yeah, what are you doing it for?
Do you think it's an ego thing in terms of like ignoring a sickness, in terms of entrepreneurs have an ego, they have something to prove the world, but then when it comes to sickness, it's like, no, I can't get sick, I'm indestructible. Like, let's fight through
I'm
this.
indestructible and I'm irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of, when it comes to your business, you're like, it's my business, it's my baby. You hear so many people say, I've hear myself saying, it's my baby.
Yeah.
Now Siren Events is my teenager. But you're working yourself so hard because you think nobody else can do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, the whole thing's going to fall apart. Where the reality is, it doesn't. You can, you can delegate, you can outsource. And then also, there's nothing wrong in saying no.
Yeah.
No, just no, I can't do that.
That's tough though, because like, particularly in the early years when you just need revenue, you say yes to everything, and then through that process you find out what's wrong for you. It's just hard. It's hard to say no sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think it comes back to what stage you are in your journey. I agree with you. When I first set up, and even sort of post-COVID with the events, you just need, let's be honest, you need cash in. So you say yes, yes, yes. And like I said, then you learn that actually taking everything ends up in burnout for yourself, but also you're not delivering because you're so overwhelmed, you're so busy that maybe you're not delivering your product or service to the best quality, etc. So then it's sort of detrimental because you're going to start losing the clients because you're taking everything and then you become overwhelmed. Whereas if you actually look at, and this took me years to learn, is to start looking at what type of client am I looking for? And when you actually get into that perfect client that brings in that revenue, it's the job, or it's the client that you want to work with.
Yeah.
And then you realize that some of the other stuff that's coming in, you're not actually making money on it.
Yeah.
Because the cost is so low. Sorry, the revenue is so low, but actually the costs are maybe, you're either making zero on it or it's negative because for the effort that you're putting into it. So
absolutely.
But it took me, I'd say, 5 years to realize that. So
I think I realized that a couple of years ago when we were trying to, or maybe a good few years ago now, like we were trying to pivot, or I was trying to pivot from being a freelancer to more of like an agency setup. And I had a client that was consistently paying. It wasn't great money, but it was a lot of photography that I had to spend my time on. And I sort of fell out of love of it. And then I was reading this book, I forget what it is, but it had this amazing quote. It was like, the enemy of the great is the good. And sometimes you need to say no to the good in order to achieve the great. And I realized I'm spending so much time on this good project that actually where I want my efforts to be focused in the agency setup, I'm missing opportunities there. I don't have the time. I don't have the time to go out and network and win work and send out proposals because I'm stuck at this shoot that I'm always doing. But not to feel sort of, not to, I don't want to sound ungrateful for that opportunity, but because it was good money at the time, and also I learned something great from it. But yeah, it was just a big learning curve for me, is that sort of, yeah. So you mentioned while you were in hospital, you were getting bothered by clients and they knew you were in hospital, but they just, they were numb to it. They didn't care. They were being pretty awful. How do you deal with bad clients? Maybe after you got out of hospital and you were set back in business, like how do you just deal with bad clients?
Okay, so I'm going to be fair to my clients and say, why did I answer the phone when I was in hospital? So in all honesty,
you answered the phone?
I answered the phone.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the first thing. I'm going to start with that. So don't make it all about the big bad client. I'm going to come back to the big bad client, but I'm also going to put it back on as yourself. Business owners and self. Why do we feel we must answer the phone? And I've heard myself saying this. So like I said, I'm not perfect. I will be, for example, so I'm out at the beach with friends for the day and a client calls and it's a weekend and I pick up the phone and I say, I'm sorry, I can't talk. I'm at the beach. Why am I picking up the phone? Yeah. If I can't talk, why am I picking up the phone? Yeah. And it's this addiction to that little red flashing light. We see it. And I admire people who say, you know what? I'm available from this time to this time, and after that, I don't respond. Yeah, and I'm trying to do that. I am trying. It's not always happening, but as this year is, like I said, the year of me, the year of the dragon, I'm trying to get more of a balance, and I'm trying to stop being available 24 hours a day. There is no job that I do that is that critical, that I have to be available 24 hours a day. So, I'm going to put it back on myself a little bit about being in hospital. Yes, it was wrong. They knew I was in hospital. Why were they contacting me? But then why was I answering the messages or the calls? I should have just switched my phone off and focused on getting better. So that's, how to handle bad clients. again, I think this comes with experience, and also, as we said earlier, when you first start, you're all about getting the money in.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're not so choosy about which clients you work with.
Yeah.
Then you start realizing that there's on two occasions where I've actually walked away from a client. I've actually cancelled the contract.
Mm-hmm.
One was a client who was like, for me, I can take very demanding, should we say, strong personalities. I can deal with it. I'm quite thick-skinned.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client that was that type of client, extremely demanding and very abrupt, and it was fine. I could deal with it. One day I asked my assistant to contact this person to request some documents, something that we needed, and he absolutely laid into her, like, how dare you call me, you're just an assistant. She was just doing her job. She was she was in tears, she was devastated, she thought she'd done something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I came into the office, I was like, what's the matter, what's happened? And she said, oh, he was very upset that I called him. Now, she was just calling saying, could you send me, it was, and I was just, yeah. So I called him and I said, I'll be sending the official notification.
Yep.
I can't work with people like that. That's, I've got to be the protector as well. And another time was, again, someone I worked with who nearly destroyed my belief in myself.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Yourself?
In myself,
wow.
in my capabilities. And I walked away. And even now I get angry when I think about it. And I walked away from the event destroyed, like thinking, and the event went well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like and then I said, I will never work with this person again. It was quite interesting because she literally destroyed me, and yet then called me the following year and said, oh, we want to work with you again. And I was just like,
no thanks.
No. I said, I'm sorry, I'm booked. She said, I'm giving you the dates. I said, yeah, I'm
booked. It could be any date. I'm booked.
Any day. So I think, with bad clients, it comes with experience.
Yeah.
And then it comes with how badly do you need the money?
Mm-hmm.
Because everything's a trade-off. How badly do you need that revenue, that client? But sometimes the reality is by walking away. And by me walking away, by me declining this, there's no point me working in a toxic environment like that. But also, it opened up my time to work with fabulous clients,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you've got to set some boundaries as well. In the way we always, we try to understand how clients like, they want the relationship. Do you prefer if I call you, email you, send you messages on WhatsApp, what's your working style? When are you available?
Yeah.
We've also got to communicate that to our clients. And I don't think we necessarily do that and say, I just want you to understand, I'm available from this time to this time, but I have other commitments. I have a colleague who's brilliant at it, absolutely brilliant. She lets people know I have 3 kids. I'm not available at weekends. So yeah.
You said a really interesting word there, which was protect. In business, you have 2 domains where you can influence. You have your team. You can influence. You can optimize. You can demand. You can delegate. All that good stuff. You've got your clients. You can talk to them about the project. You can propose to them this, that. It's your job. It's your team's job to protect you in terms of your time from the clients very often, but it's also your job, like you said, to protect your team from the clients. When the clients start attacking your team and killing their passion for the project, that's when you need to step in. Absolutely. Because I had a client like a few years ago that I had to fire because he was just a nightmare and my team hated him, like to the bone. Not just a bad client, bad person, racism, sexism, all the rest of it. And I had to cut it off. And that was the first time I ever done it. But what I realized as soon as I did it, I got off the phone with him, and a few minutes later he called me back and he was begging for us to take him back. And I'm like, wow, these people with this like big, hard exterior are actually quite like mushy and soft on the inside. Yeah. What's happened there? Anyway, that's all done. this startup actually still exists, and I see them occasionally. I'm like,
but
if only everyone knew.
Yeah. And also I think you have to, it comes back to your core values, and you know, your team are an extension of you, and you can't deflect that back. So if you see it happening, you've got to step in and manage it. And I think that is, as a business owner, when you're a solopreneur, it's you, but you have to protect yourself as well. If you're dreading meeting a client, or you're dreading, I'm not talking about nervous energy, but when you physically, like, you see their name come up on your phone and you're like, oh God, you know, that's not good. That's going to kill your passion. It's going to just, you know,
chips away at the enthusiasm.
Exactly. And then you'll just be like, why am I doing this?
Absolutely.
Because of this one client. But I've always said, you know, I will push my team forward when things are going well. So the client's like, oh, you know, they were great. And everything. Yeah, great. And when things are going wrong is when I have got to be the one that takes the flack from the client, because ultimately the buck stops with me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard because you think, well, you know, you were an idiot. Why did you do that? But now I've got to go and speak to the client. But, you know, that's the bigger part of once you have a team, you've got to be prepared to, like you say, protect them a little bit, but also step in and maybe a mistake's been made. So you've got to, you know, have that interaction with the client and then come back and address, like, okay, let's make sure this doesn't happen again. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Fiona, it's been a pleasure. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up because of time. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure.